The phone slipped from my fingers, bouncing twice on our kitchen tile as my father's words pierced through me like glass. "You're no daughter of ours anymore." His voice was flat, businesslike. It was the same tone he used firing employees. My mother stood beside him, arms crossed, examining her French manicure with more interest than she showed her only child. Behind them, my half-packed suitcase waited by the door. My existence was reduced to whatever I could grab in 10 minutes. But my voice cracked, hand instinctively covering my still flat stomach. "It's your grandchild." Dad's jaw tightened as he checked his Rolex. 8 minutes left, Laura. Don't waste them trying to change our minds. Mom finally looked at me, her eyes cold as Texas winter. "We expected better from you. Not this mess that ruins our name." My name is Laura. I'm 39 years old and a hotel executive. This is the story of how I turned abandonment into an empire they couldn't touch. The house I grew up in suddenly felt foreign. Every family photo was a lie. Mom turned our portrait face down on the mantel. The frame hit the wood with a hollow thud that echoed through my chest. It was the sound of being erased. 7 minutes, Dad announced. He was scrolling through his phone like this was a minor inconvenience in his schedule. I moved mechanically, grabbing clothes and my savings. I had just $212 hidden in an old jewelry box. I also took the silver locket grandmother had given me before she died. It was the only piece of family I'd be allowed to keep. "Norman and I expect you gone when we return from dinner," Mom said. She was adjusting her pearl necklace in the hallway mirror. "The locks will be changed by morning." Outside our suburban San Antonio home, the November air bit through my thin jacket. No car, no phone plan they weren't paying for, nowhere to go. I was 17 years old, pregnant, and completely alone. The betrayal cut deeper when Victor's message appeared on a friend's phone I borrowed. "This isn't my problem." My parents have already spoken to their lawyer. Stop calling. I'd been staying with my debate teammate Eliza for 3 nights. I was using her phone to desperately reach out to anyone who might help. Victor Reed was the charming debate team captain. He was Harvard-bound, my boyfriend of 2 years. He disappeared as completely as my family had. His promises of forever evaporated when faced with actual consequences. The first night in Brackenridge Park, I curled against a tree. My arms were wrapped around my backpack, jumping at every sound. The rustling leaves seemed to whisper my parents' words. Disappointment, failure, mess. By morning, my decision was made. This wouldn't break me. It would forge me into someone they'd regret discarding. For 3 weeks, I survived on park benches and cheap fast food. I washed up in gas station bathrooms. My pregnancy was a terrifying secret I carried alone. Each night grew colder until Rose Blackwell found me. She was walking her ancient retriever at dawn. Her silver hair was elegantly styled despite the early hour. Her cashmere coat was belted against the chill. I tried to look invisible as she approached my bench. "You're freezing out here," she said. Her Texas accent was warm but no nonsense. "And don't bother lying about being fine." When I didn't answer, she simply sat beside me. Her dog settled at her feet. "I own the Blackwell Hotel Group. I need someone to start immediately at the front desk of my downtown property, room included." My eyes narrowed. "Why would you help me?" "Because 40 years ago, I was you." She nodded toward my stomach, except I didn't make it past my first night outside. Lost the baby, nearly died myself. She held my gaze. The difference between survival and destruction is often just one person who sees you. The next day, I followed Rose to her flagship property in downtown San Antonio. She personally showed me to the staff quarters on the 5th floor that would become my new home. Then she introduced me to the front desk manager. Rose became more than my employer. She became my mentor, my family. She didn't just give me shelter in her hotel's staff quarters. She taught me how to turn pain into power over morning coffee in her executive office on the top floor of the hotel. "The best revenge," she'd say, reviewing the hotel's quarterly reports, "isn't quick or flashy. It's building yourself so strong they regret ever letting you go." I started as a front desk assistant, learning every aspect of the hotel business. I learned from handling demanding guests to analyzing profit margins. Rose's lessons went beyond hospitality. She was teaching me to read people, to identify weaknesses, to plan 3 steps ahead. The miscarriage happened during my 3rd month working for Rose. The cramping started during my shift at the front desk. Blood soaked through my uniform before I could reach the bathroom. Rose found me there, curled on the floor. My arms were wrapped around my stomach as if I could hold everything together. She didn't offer empty words. She sat on the cold tile, held my hand, and called her private doctor. Later, when I whispered that I'd lost everything, she shook her head firmly. "This is not the end of your story, Laura. This is where it truly begins." After a week of recovery in my staff quarters, Rose introduced me to her inner circle. Mac Walker was her silver-haired lawyer with eyes that missed nothing. He became my guide to contracts and legal protection. "The law," he explained during our first meeting in Rose's wood-paneled study at her private estate, "is not about justice. It's about preparation. Those who document everything win." Then came Olivia Harris from IT with her quick fingers and quicker mind. She taught me digital footprints never truly disappear. "People think deletion means gone," she'd say, pulling up records I thought inaccessible. "But everything leaves a trace if you know where to look." 1 year after joining Rose's world, I stood in a San Antonio adoption agency. My heart was pounding as the social worker brought in baby Kevin. He was 6 months old with curious eyes and a grip that wouldn't let go. I named him after the city that broke and rebuilt me. San Antonio became Kevin in my new life's language. Rose made me his godmother officially. Her signature was bold on the documents. Unofficially, she was teaching me to raise him as my strategic advantage. She enrolled him in coding programs by age 7, nurturing his natural talent for technology. By 10, he was building simple apps that solved real hotel management problems. "Not just smart," Rose would observe, watching him work. "Innovative. He sees solutions others miss." Her eyes would narrow thoughtfully. "They'll come for him one day, you know. Success always draws out the vultures." Over the next decade, I worked my way up through the Blackwell Hotel Group. I eventually became Rose's right hand and established my own office on the executive floor. Kevin grew into an extraordinary young man. His talent for software development exceeded even Rose's expectations. I was ready when it happened. 22 years after my parents closed their door on me, Kevin's breakthrough software for hotel operations efficiency made headlines in the business world. I carefully fed stories to industry publications, ensuring his name reached the right circles. The first contact came exactly as predicted. A sleek tablet was delivered to my office with a card from Norman and Ingrid Porter. My assistant brought it in, explaining that a courier had insisted it was a personal gift requiring immediate delivery. For our talented grandson, time to reconnect. "They're circling," Rose warned from her hospital bed, where she was spending her final months battling cancer. She examined the card I brought to show her. Right on schedule. I shipped it back with a note in deliberately shaky handwriting. "This brings back too many painful memories." Olivia monitored their online activity. She captured every search about Kevin's success, every visit to legal websites about grandparents' rights, and every email between them and Victor discussing their share of what they called the Porter legacy. She installed special software on my office phone and mobile to record all conversations with them. Mac confirmed it was legal in Texas, with one-party consent. I played vulnerable in carefully traced phone calls. My voice was hesitant when they called, giving just enough information to fuel their greed. "Kevin's software might be worth millions if it scales correctly," I mentioned casually, knowing Olivia was recording every word. Their overreach built rapidly. Norman and Ingrid cornered Kevin outside his office in the tech district. They had obtained his work address through business directory searches. Their forced smiles did not hide their calculating eyes as they pushed for family time. Victor sent messages to my work email about making things right, while Olivia's monitoring captured his online searches for ways to establish paternity after abandonment. I planted seeds of distrust between them. Working with Olivia, we created untraceable email accounts to send anonymous tips. One to my parents suggested Victor was skimming their reunion funds for his gambling debts. This was information Olivia had uncovered through his credit reports. Others to Victor hinted my parents planned to exclude him once they secured access to Kevin. Their communications grew frantic. Norman accused Victor of betrayal, while Victor fired back that my parents were using him. I fed the chaos with strategic information. I mentioned a $10 million valuation of Kevin's patent during a call with my mother. I heard her breath catch with naked greed. The threats escalated from emotional appeals to legal action. "You owe us family access," my father demanded in voicemails Olivia captured. Victor's messages grew desperate. "Think of Kevin's future, Laura. I'm his father, after all." Their final move was a lawsuit claiming grandparent visitation rights and inheritance claims based on blood relationships. Mac intercepted the filing. His analysis revealed their overreach and legal vulnerabilities. The stage was set for their downfall. Kevin's keynote at the San Antonio Tech Summit drew industry leaders, investors, and media. My parents and Victor sat prominently in the front row. Their polished appearances masked the greed I'd baited. I had invited them personally, suggesting this would be our family reunion moment. Kevin began with gratitude for chosen family. His voice was steady as he gestured toward me. The screen behind him flared to life with Rose's recorded message. It was filmed 2 months before her passing earlier that year. Her face commanded attention as she declared, "Family is who stands by you, not who claims you when you shine." The crowd leaned forward as she continued. "I've watched cowards discard their own blood, then return with open hands when that blood proves valuable." Max stepped to the podium next. His expression was professional as he displayed the document they'd signed 22 years ago. It was projected in unmistakable clarity. "We, Norman Porter and Ingrid Porter, relinquish all rights to Laura Porter and any offspring, born or unborn." Gasps rippled through the room as phones captured their signatures. They were undeniable and damning. Then came the emails. Olivia's intercepts flashed across the screen. They showed their plot to leverage Kevin's success and Victor's push to play on her guilt for financial gain. The final strike was mine. I stood, turning to face them directly. "You demanded access to your grandson," I said. My voice was clear and carrying. "But there is no blood connection. I lost your grandchild the same week you threw me away. Kevin is my adopted son." The room erupted in murmurs as security moved toward my parents and Victor. Mac announced the emergency restraining orders being served on site. Their faces collapsed under the weight of the truth. No grandchild to claim, no wealth to seize, only public humiliation as they were escorted out. Their heads were bowed under the crowd's judgment. Kevin stood beside me at the reception afterward. His hand squeezed mine. "You told me I was adopted when I was 12, he said quietly, "but seeing those people who threw you away, now I understand why you raised me to be prepared for this day." The fallout was swift and complete. Clips of Norman and Ingrid Porter's disgraceful exit spread across social networks. Their real estate firm lost major contracts as clients distanced themselves from the scandal. The board removed my father as chairman within days. They sold their San Antonio home at a loss, relocating to a modest condo in Phoenix. Their social circle evaporated as former friends whispered about their disgrace. Victor faced federal charges when Olivia's anonymous tip led the IRS to his hidden accounts, uncovering years of tax evasion. His promised 6-figure settlement from my parents vanished with their assets. 6 months later, he was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. I offered no reconciliation. My silence was a deliberate choice as their carefully constructed lives unraveled. The Rose Blackwell Foundation for Young Women became my legacy. It was funded with $2 million from her estate to support young mothers with housing, education, and job training. At the opening ceremony, I announced our first recipient. She was a 19-year-old coding prodigy with a newborn daughter and determination in her eyes. As I handed her the scholarship certificate, I thought of that cold November night, standing alone outside my parents' locked door. Sometimes, the family that matters most is the one you build from the ashes of betrayal. Last month, a letter arrived from my father. His handwriting was shaky, the Phoenix return address unfamiliar. I placed it unopened in my office safe, next to Rose's will and Kevin's first patent. After all we'd been through, I had no interest in whatever explanation or apology it might contain. Some words come too late to matter. The text on my phone blurred as the photos loaded one by one. My parents' beaming faces, my sister's perfectly posed arm around my brother, champagne glasses raised in a toast, all of them celebrating at my brother's new apartment at the exact moment they were supposed to be at mine. My fingers tightened around the phone until my knuckles burned white. In my pristine kitchen, a feast I'd spent 2 days preparing sat untouched on gleaming platters. Candles that had burned for hours now melted into sad puddles of wax. The banner I'd hung, "Home Sweet Home," seemed to mock me from across the room. I scrolled through more photos, each one a fresh wound, my mother kissing my brother's cheek, my father's proud hand on his shoulder, my sister's caption beneath it all, "So proud of our golden boy. Finally settled into his new place. Family over everything. Family over everything, except me." My name is Natalie. I'm 27 and a financial analyst. This is the story of how I learned that true power isn't in seeking approval. It's in walking away when you're not valued. I'd bought this apartment entirely on my own. No co-signers, no family loans, no help. For years, I'd watched my parents celebrate my brother Ryan's every minor achievement while treating my accomplishments as expected and unremarkable. When I closed on this place, I thought, finally, something they couldn't ignore, something that would make them see me. I'd invited them 6 weeks in advance, sent reminder texts, called to confirm. We wouldn't miss it for anything. My mother had promised 3 days earlier. Yet here they were, glasses raised at Ryan's hastily planned housewarming, an apartment he'd signed for just last week. None of them had even bothered to text me an excuse. I set down my phone and moved methodically through my silent apartment, blowing out candles, covering food, turning off music. The space that was supposed to echo with congratulations and laughter now amplified my solitude. I was switching off the last light when my phone lit up with notifications. "Mom, we need to talk now." "Dad, call your mother immediately." Ryan, "Hey sis, kind of in a situation, need to talk ASAP." After ignoring me all evening, suddenly I was urgently needed. I switched my phone to silent and placed it face down on my nightstand. Whatever crisis they were facing, it could wait until morning, just as I had waited all evening for a family that never arrived. Sunlight streamed through my new curtains when I finally checked my phone. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, 6 voicemails, all from my mother, each more frantic than the last. I made coffee and sat by the window, scrolling through the messages while the morning light warmed my face. "Mom, Natalie, this is serious. Call me back." "Mom, why are you ignoring us when we need you?" "Dad, your brother is in trouble. Stop being childish and pick up." I played the most recent voicemail. My mother's voice trembled, stripped of its usual superiority. "Natalie, something's happened. It's about Ryan's apartment. We need your help. It's urgent. Please call me back." I almost laughed. Help. They needed my help. The same people who couldn't spare 3 hours from my housewarming now expected me to drop everything for them. I sipped my coffee, savoring the bitter warmth as I let the message repeat. By noon, curiosity won out. I answered my mother's next call. "Natalie, thank God." She breathed. "We've been trying to reach you all night." "I was busy," I replied, my voice deliberately flat. "What's so urgent?" "It's about Ryan's apartment," she whispered as though someone might overhear. "There's been a complication with the financing." "What kind of complication?" "The bank called yesterday. They're questioning some of the information on his application, something about income verification." Her voice dropped even lower. "He might have exaggerated a few details." I closed my eyes. Of course. Ryan had lied on his mortgage application, and now they wanted me to help fix it. "And this concerns me how?" I asked. "We thought..." She paused. "We thought you might be able to help with some of the payments, just until he gets back on his feet." "You want me to pay for his apartment? After you all skipped my housewarming to celebrate his?" Silence stretched between us. Then my father's voice boomed suddenly on speakerphone. "Don't be dramatic, Natalie. We had to support your brother. This is his first big step. You know how important this is to him." "And my housewarming wasn't important?" "That's different." My mother jumped in. "You're established, independent. You don't need the same support." "So established that you now need my money," I said quietly. "It's just family helping family," my father insisted. "You've always been the responsible one, the sensible one. Sensible enough to buy an apartment I can actually afford." My mother's voice hardened. "Natalie, don't be difficult. You're single, no kids, good job, you can spare it. Family sticks together." I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Family sticks together? You couldn't even stick to your promise to attend my housewarming. You toasted Ryan while I sat alone with a table full of food no one ate, and now you want my money." The silence that followed tasted like fear. "Natalie," my father finally said, his voice unnaturally gentle. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. It's just money." "Exactly," I replied, ice coating each word. "My money, my life, and for once, it's not yours to take." I hung up before they could respond, my hand shaking not from guilt, but from something unfamiliar: power. For the first time, I wasn't the forgotten daughter begging for scraps of attention. I was the one they needed, and I had just denied them. The next morning, I awoke to more missed calls and a growing sense of satisfaction. The tables had finally turned, and for once, I wasn't the one left waiting and wondering. The knocking started at 7:42 the next morning. I peered through the peephole to see my mother standing in the hallway, her hair unusually disheveled, her smile strained as she raised her hand to knock again. I opened the door just wide enough to block the entrance. "It's early." "I've been calling all night," she said, forcing brightness into her voice. "You weren't answering." "I was sleeping. Some of us have work today." She glanced past me into the apartment. "Can I come in? We need to talk." "We talked yesterday." Her smile tightened. "Natalie, sweetheart, I don't think you understand how serious this is. Your brother could lose everything. He should have thought about that before signing papers he couldn't afford." "We told him you'd help," she blurted out. "You've always been the dependable one. Please, Natalie, just a little loan. We'll pay you back." The word loan hit me like a slap. I thought of the birthdays they'd missed, the graduations they'd left early, the years they'd spent telling me I'd never shine as brightly as Ryan. "Funny," I said. "How I'm dependable when you need money, but invisible when I need support." Behind her, the elevator doors opened, and my father stepped into the hallway, his face tight with frustration. "Enough games, Natalie. This family needs your help." "No," I said, the word strangely liberating. "What this family needs is to understand consequences." My mother's eyes glistened. "We're your parents. You owe us." "I owe you?" I laughed incredulously. "You owe me 15 years of dinners where I sat ignored. You owe me every holiday where I was too boring to be noticed. And you owe me an apology that I know will never come." My father stepped forward. "You can't turn your back on family." "Watch me." I shut the door firmly, the sound of the lock sliding into place like the period at the end of a sentence I'd waited my whole life to say. For the next 3 days, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly found my number. My parents must have called a family meeting and shared my number with everyone who might influence me. "Aunt Karen, your parents are devastated. How could you abandon your brother like this?" "Uncle Tom, family takes care of family. Don't be selfish." Cousin Emily, "Ryan's under so much stress. Can't you just help a little?" I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I focused on my life, the one I'd built without their help. I worked, met friends for dinner, and spent evenings in my apartment surrounded by furniture I'd chosen, art I'd hung, in a space that belonged solely to me. On the fourth day, I listened to a voicemail from my mother that made me pause. "Natalie, please." Her voice cracked. "The bank is threatening foreclosure. If word gets out, it'll ruin us. People will know Ryan failed. We can't let that happen. Please think about the family name." The family name. The same name that had been used to exclude me, to compare me unfavorably, to remind me I wasn't special enough. Now it was being wielded as leverage to make me comply. That night, I pulled out the paperwork for my apartment, the deed with only my name on it, the mortgage I paid alone, the savings account statement showing I'd done it all without touching the emergency fund I'd built over years of careful planning. I took a photo of the deed, my name boldly printed at the top. I typed a caption. "Built this life without anyone's help. Some stories tell themselves." I didn't post it, not yet, but I saved it, finger hovering over the share button, savoring the power of knowing I could. 2 weeks into this standoff, the calls became more desperate. On Saturday morning, my brother himself finally called. I answered on the third ring. "Natalie." His voice was thinner than I remembered, the usual swagger replaced with something that sounded suspiciously like fear. "We need to talk." "We're talking now." "About the apartment. Things are complicated." "So I've heard." He sighed heavily. "Look, I know we've had our differences, but you can't just sit back and watch me lose everything. You're my sister. You're supposed to help." I let his words hang in the air between us, then calmly, "Did you think about me when you all skipped my housewarming? When you celebrated your new place while I sat alone with enough food to feed 20 people? Was I your sister then?" The silence stretched so long I thought he might have hung up. "It wasn't my idea," he finally mumbled. "Mom and Dad insisted. And you went along with it, like you always do when it benefits you. That's not fair." "None of this is fair, Ryan. That's the point." After we hung up, I opened my social media app and looked at the photo I'd saved 2 weeks earlier. The deed to my apartment with my name bold and clear, paired with the caption I'd written. "Built this life alone. Some stories tell themselves." I hit share. Within hours, the notifications flooded in. Friends from work commenting with fire emojis and congratulations. College classmates I hadn't spoken to in years, sending messages of support. Even distant relatives chiming in. Some shocked, some supportive, all of them suddenly very aware of my achievement. By morning, my mother's text arrived, just as I'd expected. "Natalie, take that post down immediately. People are asking questions. You're humiliating us." I replied, "Funny. I remember feeling the same way when you all humiliated me. Difference is, I have proof, and I'm not deleting it." The weight shifted again. For years, they had held power over me with their silence, their favoritism, their exclusion. But now their silence was the prison, and I was the one holding the key. The ripple effects spread quickly. My cousin texted that people at church were whispering about how my parents had forgotten their own daughter's housewarming. She'd heard it during Sunday service when 2 ladies behind her couldn't stop discussing it. My sister's roommate mentioned that coworkers were questioning my brother about moving into an apartment he couldn't afford without begging his sister for help. Word had gotten around their office after Ryan had taken several panicked calls from the bank during work hours. I hadn't said anything beyond that single caption, but the truth, paired with silence, was more damning than any explanation I could have offered. 3 weeks after my post, the knocking returned, more insistent this time. Through the peephole, I saw them all. My parents, Ryan, and my sister Olivia. I hadn't seen all 4 of them together since Christmas. I opened the door and leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Well, if it isn't the family that suddenly remembers where I live. My mother's mascara was smudged, her hands twisting nervously at her sides. "Natalie, please. You have to take down that post. We can't go anywhere without people whispering. Your brother's reputation is ruined. We're drowning in humiliation." "Sounds painful," I said quietly. "Being ignored. Feeling humiliated. I wonder what that's like." My father, his voice usually commanding, sounded deflated. "We made a mistake. We should have been here for you, but don't destroy us over one night." I let them stand in the hallway, the irony hanging thick in the air. One night. For them, it was one night. For me, it had been years of nights. Birthdays, holidays, achievements systematically minimized or ignored. "You taught me I was disposable," I said finally. "Now everyone sees the truth. You disposed of me first." Ryan tried to step forward. "Nat, please." I raised my hand. "You don't get to rewrite this anymore. You left me alone once. Now you get to feel what that's like." Their eyes dropped, heavy with the weight of a shame they'd never had to carry before. I shut the door gently, not with anger, but with finality. 6 months passed, and Thanksgiving arrived with a warmth I hadn't felt in years. My apartment glowed with warmth, candles lit, music playing softly, laughter spilling from the kitchen where friends helped prepare dishes they'd brought to share. The table was full, not just with food, but with people who valued my presence. During dessert, my phone buzzed with a text. A cousin had sent a photo from my parents' house. A sad-looking turkey burned at the edges. Ryan and Olivia glaring at each other across the table. My parents forcing smiles through obvious tension. The caption read, "It's not the same without you." I didn't reply because, for once, that was the truth. They had built their family image, their celebrations, their sense of superiority on my silence and my compliance. And when I stopped showing up, everything they thought was solid had collapsed. Later that night, after my friends had gone and the apartment had quieted, I stood by my window overlooking the city lights. My phone buzzed again, a voicemail from my mother. "Natalie." Her voice heavy with what sounded like genuine regret. "I'm sorry. We should have been there. We lost sight of what mattered. Please call me." I didn't. Not because I couldn't forgive, but because some lessons need time to be truly learned. The empty chair at their table, the whispers in their social circle, the silence of a daughter who finally chose herself. They had wanted me invisible. Instead, I'd built a life too bright for them to dim. And in the glow of my own making, I realized I wasn't the forgotten one anymore. I was the one who had walked away. As for Ryan, I later heard through my sister that he'd lost the apartment after the bank completed their investigation. He moved back in with our parents temporarily, a humbling experience for someone who'd been so proud of his falsified independence. The mortgage fraud investigation had concluded with him paying a substantial fine rather than facing criminal charges, a consequence that seemed fitting for his deception. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.